Shabbat Shalom. Happy Sabbath, peaceful Sabbath to the Sabbath keepers. Um, for the hopeful elect, man, on with my brothers, Azrael here, Isaiah, the brother Dan or Daniel is here as well. And first and foremost, want to give all glory, honor, and praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through his Son, who he sent as an instrument of salvation for the nation, and that nation is Israel. Um, Getting on today to do a lesson on, or to just have a conversation on a spiritual body, right? As you read through the scriptures, you see a lot of prophecy in the Old Testament and the New Testament of a spiritual body, man. And this is taught through what we know as the resurrection, right? You know, in the resurrection, we will get our spiritual bodies, right? Our glorious bodies, our bodies that are like Christ, right? That will not die, that won't be crying, that won't be uh that won't be in sorrow, right? That's not gonna get old, right? That's not gonna be corruptible. For the Bible says, the word of God says that flesh and blood cannot enter into the kingdom of God. So first and foremost, you know, we're going to touch on a few things, have a conversation, just give you guys some things to think about. I want to first start off by going into our bodies right now, right? These bodies that we're in right now, these earthly bodies that we're in right now, um, and how, you know, kind of miraculous they are already. Um, I want to read some precepts first. Let me get them lined up. Read that one. What other one will we read? We can read those two. We can read that one. We can read that one. All right. I don't know which ones we can read. All right, man. Let me share my screen real quick.
Okay.
All right, all right. If I could get a brother to read this for me real quick.
The book of Acts, chapter 28 and 3. And when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on fire, there came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his arm,
On his hand, right?
his hand. Come.
Verse 4.
And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said amongst themselves, "No doubt this man is a murderer, whom he has escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffereth not to live."
Right? So these people that he was in the company of saw him get bit by a snake, and they thought that that was a sign that he was a bad man. Right? Let's read verse 5.
And he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm.
Right? Even though it was a poisonous snake, he felt no harm. Right? Let's go to verse 6.
Howbeit, they looked when he should have swollen or fallen down dead suddenly. But after they had looked a great while and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god.
Right? They said that he was a god off of that act alone. Right? We know that it's written that ye are gods, that we, the children of God, are gods. Right? But when we get these glorified bodies, we will, without a doubt, appear as gods for the barbarians and the beasts and the other nations of the earth. Right? I want to say that, this is still possible today to get bitten by a poisonous snake and not be affected, right? It's possible today to be sprayed with mace, right? Pepper spray and not be affected. It's possible today for things that are supposed to harm you to not harm you, right? And I'm saying that because the body is a miraculous thing already. Now we know that, to defeat cancer and a lot of diseases and stuff like that, a lot of prayer and fasting goes into it. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is a lot of these things that happen, these miracles that happen, are happening in an earthly body. We don't even have our glorified body, as they say. We don't even have those yet. And we still see with these earthy bodies that we can still do miraculous things within this flesh and blood, right? Something to think about, right? Let's go here real quick. Right? We're going to read in the Apocrypha, 2nd Maccabees 14. Let's start at verse 37 real quick. Somebody can read this. I think you're muted, brother. Nah, you're still muted. Yeah. Say something.
I'll go ahead and substitute real quick.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Khan. Okay, Salakia.
14 and 37. And it says, now was there accused unto Nicanor one Razis, one of the elders of Jerusalem, a lover of his countrymen, and a man of very good report, who for his kindness was called a father of the Jews.
Right. So I wanted to start at verse 37 to let you guys know who we're talking about, a man Rasis, right? There's been a lot of great men in our nation, a lot of foremothers and forefathers that we just do not account for anymore, but they were held as righteous men in our nation, right? And it's sad because we remember so many other leaders and powerful figures of other people and other nations, but for our own selves, the average person walking down the street does not know who Rasis is, right? But we're gonna read about Rasis because I want to give y'all a picture of how much trauma the body can deal with. This regular Earth body can deal with, right? I'm gonna go to verse 42. This is Second Maccabees 14, and we're gonna go to verse 42. I think I want to start there. Right. So Nicanor is pursuing Rasis because he was such a profound man in our nation. So, Nicanor of pretty much put all of our people into captivity and subdue our people, right? And the way to do that was what they call today buck breaking anyway, you know what I'm saying? And that is taking the most reputable man or leader in our nation and bringing them down low in front of everybody, right? So he was chasing after Rasis, and we'll just go from there, right? Let's go to verse 42.
Khan, 2nd Maccabees 14 and 42. Choosing rather to die manfully than to come into the hands of the wicked, to be abused otherwise than beseemed his noble birth.
Right. So he thought, I'd rather just die of my own will than have a wicked man from another nation come and kill me. Right? 43.
Verse 43. But missing his stroke through haste, the multitude also rushing within the doors, he ran boldly up to the wall and cast himself down manfully among the thickest of them.
Right? So he tried to kill himself with a sword, but he he missed. I'm guessing he missed a vital organ, because how can you miss your body? But he missed. And so with that being said, he had enough strength in him to run up the stairs, or run up the wall, right? Which is crazy. We talking about running up a wall. And he cast himself down, right? He trying to commit suicide. So this is his second attempt at death, right? Let's read verse 44.
But they quickly giving back, and a space being made, he fell down into the midst of the void place.
So he jumped off of a wall, off a building, and he still survived, right? It wasn't a hard enough fall for him. Verse 45.
Verse 45. Nevertheless, while there was yet breath within him, being inflamed with anger, he rose up, and though his blood gushed out like spouts of water, and his wounds were grievous, yet he ran through the midst of the throng, and standing upon a steep rock.
Right? So he ran through I'm guessing some thorns and thistles and something probably like barbed wire, right? Even though he was already gushing out blood like water, he still had the strength to do this, right? Verse 46.
Second Maccabees 14 and 46. When as his blood was now quite gone, he plucked out his bowels, and taking them in both his hands, he cast them upon the throng, and calling upon the Lord of life and spirit to restore him those again, he thus died.
Right? So he took out his intestines, had them in his hands, and threw them, and then started praying, right? But I'm just bringing this out just to let you guys know, man, this body went through a lot of trauma, and he could not kill himself, right? Letting you know that these bodies that we're in, man, they can withstand a lot. I tried, before this video started, I tried to get a short little clip of like a miracle survival story from a bear attack or from a car accident. There was a lot of them, but there was none that was short enough for the video. I didn't want to take up too much time. And so, with that being said, I kind of just, wanted to mention it. And so when we look at these things, right, there's how can I say this? There's a factor that plays in our head, like, dang, how could somebody survive something like that? How can the body recover from a cut that deep? How can somebody's brain not be damaged to where they lose their mind, right? We see these things all the time in miraculous recoveries, and it's pretty cool to think about, because God gave us everything we need with these bodies, right? Let me go here real quick. For example, skin replenishing itself. Let's read this. It says, new cells are made in the lower layers of the epidermis. These move to the surface within 4 weeks. So you could have a major burn, be burnt up in a house, right? You may have some scarring, but your skin will replenish itself. And these are not the glorious bodies, right? These are not the spiritual bodies. We're talking about the bodies he gave to Adam, right? These earthly bodies, they have a self-replenishing factor in them. That's pretty miraculous. That's pretty glorious, if you ask me, right? And that's just on a carnal level, a physical level. So how much more the spiritual bodies that we'll get, right? It's something that, we can't even imagine, something that we can't even fathom. We can't even think about, right? Cartoons don't do it justice. Anime don't do it justice. We're talking about being immortal, right? I want to go here as well. It says the purpose of nose hair, right? Some stuff that people just don't think about, right? It says nose hairs act as a filter that prevents dust, pollen, and allergens from entering your lungs, right? So we have what? Air filters. You ever changed the filter in your house, right? You had to, unscrew the 4 bolts or whatever, or the latches that keep it up, right? and then you have to change the actual square little filter and put it in there, and so you have clean air? Or have you ever changed the filter in your refrigerator that gives you water so you can have pure water that's coming out of there? Or have you ever changed, for my fellas, have you ever changed uh, your air filter in your car, right? Or your fuel filter? Hey, God gave us an actual filter, right? When He made us in our birthday suits, He gave us everything we kind of needed. He gave us skin that replenishes itself, and the skin is waterproof, right? You can get it wet and then it'll dry, right? He gave us nose hairs as a filter, right? So I'm a painter, right? And in painting, sometimes you have to sand, sometimes you have to, you know, do things where a lot of toxins are in the air. It helps to wear a mask. But if you don't wear a mask, you know, you can look in the mirror and you'll see a bunch of particles on your nose hairs, and that's your body trying to only take in clean air. So things like this, I sit back and look at and think of, because we living in a time of things that take our attention away from the simplicity of life, right? Such as social media and movies and electronics and technology. We don't really sit back and think, dang, God really provided these bodies to be able to sustain us in an environment, right?
Yeah.
Um,
That's a that's another reason why I bring up to a lot of people that the Most High is real, right? Because when you think about how intricate our bodies are, right, it just didn't happen by happenstance, man. How everything is cohesively working together to sustain itself, right? You got so many systems within the body. You got the skeletal system, the epidermis, the dermis system, or the cardiovascular system, the what's the spinal cord and all that called? I'm a biology major and I'm slipping. Um, dang, you got all these systems, right, in your body that's going on, and they all
you talking
happen.
about CNS,
Nah,
Not the central nervous
central
system.
nervous system.
central nervous system.
It's more
I'm thinking about well, yeah, I mean, I
Talking
guess
about
I was just thinking about
neurologic.
the nervous
the
system.
nervous system. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the nervous system in general. But you got all these systems that work together. Um, and some of them are involuntary, and they happen without you even thinking, like blinking, right? Or your heart beating. I mean, I was watching this guy, and he was saying, like we don't we don't have heart attacks. We attack our heart, right? Because our body's supposed to do everything it's supposed to do, and it's supposed to stabilize itself. So your heartbeat will raise when it's supposed to, and they'll lower when it's supposed to. And if it goes into overdrive, it's not because of it's because of something that you're doing to it. So when we start eating things like things we're not supposed to, then we start attacking our bodies, right? And our bodies can only take so much. Like the brother said, they're pretty resilient, but they can only take so much when you're beating them down every chance you get. And that goes into play with keeping these commandments, man, right? And honoring your temple, right? But just that whole thing in general of how intricate our body is, unto I'm talking about fingertips, our fingerprints and whatnot, and how we use those to identify us and to grip onto things and stuff like that, man. The body really is resilient.
Come on, man. When we look at the autonomic nervous system, um, it says regulates involuntary physiological processes, including heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, digestion, and sexual arousal. These things happen without your mind telling it to happen, right? That right there in itself is amazing, right? When we think about these glorified bodies, we're thinking about these bodies are going to, the whole thing will be an autonomic system, right? We're not going to have to tell our bodies to, to relieve itself, to tell our bodies, it's just going to be something that we can't even fathom, right? But it's it's always good to take a step back and look at the bodies that we have now and how amazing they were built. Because if these bodies are talked about pretty much like trash in the scriptures, right? The bodies that we have to look forward to, man, hey man, we can't even imagine, right? And that's why we got to keep these commandments, man, to get to that part. Now I want to go here real quick because if I scroll to the top, it says three muscles you didn't even know you had and why they're important, right? Talking about the body. Um, a lot of times when people work out, man, if they have a good workout, what happens? They say, man, I worked out muscles I didn't even know I had, right? Because there's little parts of the body that you don't even know how to use. There's parts of the body that you don't even know is there that's helping you do stuff. A lot of us, we get injuries and stuff, and you go to the doctor and they tell you the name of something, and you're like, dang, I didn't even know that was there. And because that little part is injured, you can't do something like raise your hand. You have problems sitting down. You have problems uh, jumping, right? Just from little tiny things that you never knew, right? So I want to read some of this highlighted. It says the subscapularis between the backside and the rib cage and the underside of the shoulder blade. It can inhibit your ability to fully take your shoulder overhead, like this emoji right here. And it's located right here, right behind your shoulder blade or underneath your shoulder blade, right? A lot of people don't pay attention to it, right? It says the multifidi. Commonly, these shortened muscles can cause pain with sitting and flexing forward, right? Dry needling. The multifidi commonly acts up in response to the low back joints and disc feeling threatened, right? And they're right here at the bottom of your pelvis, that muscle that connects your pelvis to your back, right? Let's go to the third one, right? Well, a lot of us already know what the diaphragm is, but let's just read it. Pulling air into the lungs, it is important, cannot be understated for issues ranging from headaches, anxiety, chronically tight traps, breathing issues to low back pain. It controls a lot, right? And then we see it. The body is very, very, and if you took any anatomy, physiology classes, and that's a class you have to study for because the body is very, very intricate, right? It's like don't want to go there yet. Or five bodies, right? Zechariah 12 and 8. What we have to look forward to.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 12 and 8. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angels of the Lord before them.
Right? Hey, it says the feeble are going to be as David, right? Letting you know, kind of like Paul, David was kind of touched by God in the aspect of almost supernatural behavior. Uh, it takes a lot for a man to be skilled in war, right? To go and fight thousands of wars and not be touched, not be killed. You have to be pretty on it mentally and physically. Your reflexes are there, right? Your strength is there, your mind is there. Not everybody can do that, right? And he said that everybody in that day is going to be like David, right? Like if you think about Samson, right? We know that Samson was known for his strength, and we know that it was like a supernatural strength, right? Same thing, right? We have a lot to look forward to in our glorified bodies. And even David had a lot to look forward to in a glorified body after doing everything that he did, slaying Goliath, getting all those Philistine foreskins, defeating all those tens of thousands, right? Let's see. Let's go to Matthew 22 and 30. Let's read this real quick.
This is Matthew 22 and 30. It says, "For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven."
Right? I wanted to emphasize the part where it says are as angels of God in heaven. When you think about an angel, you don't think, man, an angel can die, right? Think about how many people saw angels and were frightened in the Bible, right? That's how glorious, that's how spiritual they were, right? When they saw angels, right? The last thing you think in your mind is that you can hurt an angel when you see one or when you think about one. That's how we're going to be in heaven, right? We're going to appear before all these other nations as angels of God in heaven, right? In this kingdom that we go to, flesh and blood can't enter. We're going to put on these spiritual bodies, right? I wanted to read this too. This is something else we have to look forward to, right? We all know about Ezra or Esdras, right? Let me go back. I'll go here. If you can read this, First Esdras 8 and verse 7.
First Esdras 8 and verse number 7. For Esdras had very great skill, so that he omitted nothing of the law and commandments of the Lord, but taught all Israel the ordinance and judgments.
Right. So you have some people, man, that have a skill of like if you watch the movie the Book of Eli, right? That brother memorized the whole Bible, right? And he was able to tell it, repeat it to somebody so somebody can write it down at the end. First Esdras 8 and 7 says Esdras had the same skill, right? The brother Isaiah on the screen, he shows glimpses of this same skill as well all the time, right? Some people have that photographic memory. Some people have the skill or the gift of remembering things, right? Exactly as they are, recalling things, right? And why am I bringing that up? Because that also goes to the body, man. The brain is a powerful thing. The things that you can train the brain to do to help your body, to help you in life, man, the brain is powerful, right? Just think about how we have these brains. Some scientists say that we're not even using our full capacity of our brain. But just think about these things that God put in our head, right? That allow us to live. It allows us to feed ourselves when we're hungry. It allows us to keep our heart beating when we're sleeping. It allows us to build relationships and to make jokes and to laugh and to have a receptive discernment of things, right? The brains that we have. But look, it's important that we read this because we're going to all be like Esdras in the day of the Lord, right? Having that great skill. And that's what Hebrews 8 and 8, Jeremiah 31 and 31 kind of go into, right? If we could read this, Hebrews starting at verse 8. Hebrews 8, starting at verse 8.
The book of Hebrews chapter 8 and verse number 8. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
Right. Verse 9.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant, I regard them not, saith the Lord.
Right. So we're talking about the new covenant. The new covenant, man, we're going to have our new bodies as well. Right. So we're finna go into it right here, right? Verse 10.
For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. And
All
I
right,
will
we're
be
gonna
to
have that
them,
skill. Keep going.
and I will be to them a God, and they shall be my people. To me, a people.
Right? We're gonna have that skill that Ezra's had, man, to not omit anything from the law, to remember everything, to be able to write it down whenever, to be able to recall each and every law that was written, each and every commandment that was given. Right? We're gonna have that skill that Esdras had, or Ezra had, right? In our glorious bodies, man. So we see glimpses through the scriptures from, like we said, from Ezra, from David, from Samson, from Paul, we see glimpses throughout the scriptures of these physical bodies doing miraculous things, right? But all that is a shadow of things to come, right? We're going to be able to do these things when we get our spiritual bodies, right? I want to go to one more precepts before we read a chapter to get the understanding on our spiritual bodies, right? Let's go to Revelation 21:4.
Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away.
Come on, man. So look, we're gonna be living a life. Right now, everybody lives a life and we're in constant fear. You may say, no, I'm not in constant fear, but everybody is in constant fear or constant wonder of how will I be taken away from this earth? When will I die? I don't want to die. I'm not ready to die yet. I love life. You know, we all wake up in the morning and pray. And a lot of the reason why we're praying is because we're thanking God for another day, meaning we love this life, not knowing that, you know, at the end of this life, it's the beginning of one to come, right? I've seen this quote a couple of times throughout the week. Death is not the end, it's the beginning, right? And the thing is, we've been living this life since we were babies. So, like, this is all we know. And we've seen the pleasures of this life. But we can't imagine a place where you don't have to worry about not dying. We can't imagine a place where there's going to be no more sorrow, right? We were talking with some brothers the other day, and the thing was, we kind of are happy or count it all joy that we get to experience sorrow, because without sorrow, you don't know what happiness is, right? Without crying, you don't know what laughter is, right? It's a just balance. But we can't even fathom a place where none of that exists, right? But we know that we get all of that at the end with our spiritual bodies, right? So I want to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. This is going to teach us about our spiritual bodies, right?
First Corinthians.
I'm going to start at verse 24.
1 Corinthians 15:24. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and all power.
Right? We're talking about the end, right? Let's read verse 25.
For he must reign till he has put all enemies under his feet.
Right? And verse 26, the point.
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death.
Right. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Right? And that's what we were just talking about. You know, a lot of people cannot fathom a place of life where you're not constantly worried about the monkey on your back. You're not constantly worried about that thing behind your shoulder that's chasing you down, right? Getting old and dying, right? That's always in the back of your mind, right? And in the moment it's not on the back of your mind, you know, something happens to bring it to the back of your mind. You see a lot of people that are rich or that are living a life, something traumatic happens to them, some type of accident, and now their life is changed because they came close to death. A near-death experience changes people, right? We're not going to have near-death experiences in the kingdom. We're not going to be worried about death because everything will be immortal, right? We will be immortal, right? I want to skip down to verse let's go to verse 40.
Verse 40. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another.
Right, let's get the definition definition of this real quick. Terrestrial and celestial. I'm gonna try to put it in here to where they give us both the definition at the same time. Right? Celestial refers to objects in space beyond Earth, while terrestrial pertains to Earth-related features or planets with similar characteristics. So celestial is not of this earth, terrestrial is of this earth, right? So when we read this again, it says there are also celestial bodies, right? Bodies that are not of this earth, and bodies terrestrial, bodies of this earth, but the glory of the body that's not is another, right? Saying that they're different. They both have different glories, but they're different, right? Nonetheless, then that's what we're going over right now, right? Today is that the bodies that we're in right now, they do have a type of glory to them, right? The more you stay out on the sun, your skin gets a tint to it to protect you from the rays, right? Your body adapts to nature, right? Your body helps you get through tough weather changes, right? Your body helps you recover from sicknesses and different attacks, right? Everything that you have in your immune system is a response to something, even from coughing to sneezing, right? It's all a it's a glorious thing to have a fully functioning earth body, right? We do know some people have some amputations, some people have some diseases that they're struggling with, some people have something that's causing their earth body to be what's the word? Disabled or a disability, right? But to have everything intact in this earth body, hey man, it's a glorious body, right? But it's a different glory than the celestial body. Let's read verse 41.
There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory.
Right? So look, that's all it's explaining what we just explained, right? It's a different type of glory. When you look at the sun and you look at the moon, right? The moon's light, man, you're like, man, dang, it's a night light, right? That's a power, especially when you see a full moon, you're like, man, that's a beautiful light that God created in the sky. But when the morning comes, when the daytime comes and you see that sun and you can't even look at it without shades, that's a different type of glory. That sunlight is a different type of glory, and that's the different type of glory that we're talking about now. These bodies, man, they may be like a moonlight, right? It may be, it may have its bells and whistles, but it ain't nothing like that glorious body that's gonna come, right? If that makes sense, right? Let's read verse 42.
Verse 42. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in corruption.
Right? Verse 43.
It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power.
So the dishonor and the weakness that it's talking about that these bodies have that we're in today is the fact that we lust after things we shouldn't lust after. We're tempted to do things we shouldn't do. We fall short a lot of the times, right? We don't have immaculate memory all the time to do what is right, right? These bodies are weak in the fact that we need to relieve ourselves and go to the bathroom, right? When we get too hot, we end up sweating. When we get tired, we have to go to sleep, right? And so that's what it's saying, man. These bodies that we're in right now, although they are a type of glorious, right? They're still imperfect. They're a type of dishonor. You know what I'm saying? Verse 44.
Verse 44. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body.
Right. So we're really planting seeds, right? Spiritually, we're planting seeds. This body was planted, right? Of the dirt we came, right? Of the dirt we're going to return. But out of the dirt, is this natural body. But what we're raising up in this natural body right now is a spiritual body through our fruit. You know what I'm saying? Um, Not try to get too confusing, but we have a spiritual man that's coming out of this natural body, right? And that's the man that really counts, right? These natural bodies will go back to the earth, man. We don't need these natural bodies once we're done with them, right? Verse 45.
Verse 45, and so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit.
Right? Because when you think about it, right? Let me give this example. When you think about a car, right? Now that car can be a nice car. It got the bells and whistles, right? Got the leather seats, right? Got the Bluetooth, the steering wheel warmer, got the sunroof. It gets you from A to B. It does its job, right? But a car ain't nothing without a person driving it. Well, I mean, nowadays you got the Tesla and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? You got robots, but bear with me, right? A car ain't nothing without the person driving it, meaning you could drive that car and park it. As soon as you get out, right? You on your way. That car stay there. Just like these earth bodies that we're in today, once we die, these bodies stay there, but our spirit keeps going to wherever we got to go, to whatever we got to do, right? And that's what it's saying, man. The first Adam was a living soul. That's where we are right now, living souls, right? The last Adam was a quickening spirit, right? A spirit that brings forth life, right? So the only way that living soul could have life is if there's a quickening spirit within it, right? And you don't want that soul and that spirit to die in eternity, man. You want to get that glorious body. Let's read verse 46. Hold on.
Verse
Let's go to verse 47.
The first man is of the earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven.
Right? Verse 48.
As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly.
Right? There's two different realms, man. In Genesis, he separated the waters from the waters, right? He separated the heaven, right? It's two different realms. Verse 49.
And as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
Right? Talking about Christ, because we saw Christ was resurrected, right? We seen that his body didn't corrupt. We seen that his body, right, was able to go up into heaven, right? And he was in a new body that could not be hurt. All right, let's go to verse 50.
Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit into the kingdom of God, neither does corruption inherit incorruption.
Right? So you got to leave that car where it is. You know what I'm saying? Verse 50, 51.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed.
I think you missed verse 51.
Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
Right? That's the point right there. We shall be changed. Right? We shall be changed. That's what you're looking for, right? To get that spiritual body, you got to be changed. Right? We're not going to all die. Right? Now read 52 again.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed.
Right? We shall be changed, right? If we live to see that day, right? We might die before that, but Lord willing, if we see that day, we'll be changed in a moment, man, in the twinkling of an eye. You can't even blink before you got your new body if you've been living according to the Most High God and His commandments. All right, let's go with 53.
For this must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality.
Right? We're going to be immortal. Right? Verse 54.
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory.
Remember, it said the last enemy is death, right? And then it goes on to say, I'll take it from here. It says, "O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory?" Remember what I said earlier, man. We're not going to be thinking about death's sting. Right now, man, you know, you get sick, you go to the doctor. Why? Because you don't want it to get worse, because you don't want it to end up dying, right? You got a certain lump or something on you, got to get it checked out because you don't want to end up dying, right? You have a certain cough, you at work, somebody might tell you, you might want to get that checked out. Oh, yeah, you might want to get that checked out. Why? Because they don't want you to die, right? That's the sting of death, right? Verse 56 says, "The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law." Meaning what? Sin, the wages of sin are death. So a lot of the things that we do that are sin puts us in situations to where we end up dying, right? And that's the sting, that's the fear. The fear is that we have compromised these bodies to where we're going to die, right? Verse 57 says, "But thanks be to God, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ." He gave us another chance to get it right, man, so that we could be changed and that we don't have to sleep, right? 58 says, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." This is why we do what we do, man, so we can get that change, to get these spiritual bodies, right? So that we don't end up being corruptible, because Christ gave us another chance, right? And an opportunity to take on the image of spiritual and not just the image of the first Adam, which was carnal, right? But, you know, just giving y'all something to think about, man. A spiritual body. Do the brothers on the screen, you guys got anything to add or no?
Con, I'll add wait, can you scroll back down to verse 54 of this chapter real quick? Well, it says, "So when this incorruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory." Like the brother went over, you know, hey, that's that last enemy that must be defeated. But you don't have to necessarily wait until death, you know, and once your man puts on incorruption and immortality to swallow death up in victory. That's why the brother said earlier, you know, it all goes back to the law. The way we swallow death up in victory is by putting immortality and corruption on each and every day of life. The way you do that is by going to the law and obeying the commandments thereof, you know, because just like he said, the wages of sin, right? What pays you out from when you sin is dying. That's the payment for sin. So the way we stop ourselves from being those who die and perish, right? Those who are subjugated to death is by obeying the Father's commandments, right? You got to put on immortality and corruption each and every day of your life, right? You shouldn't want to corrupt your body, your earthly body that the Lord gave you, by defiling it with foods he told us not to eat. The same way you shouldn't want to defile your spiritual body by disobeying the commandments of the Lord. Remember that the law, according to Romans 7:14, is spiritual, right? So we have to keep all things in perspective. The law is spiritual. We got to continue to die daily to ourselves. Well, we got to continue to die daily to the will of God, right? But mighty lesson. With that, I yield.
Oh, man, you know, got to keep these commandments because the Lord, you know, he's in control of everything, right? There's been certain people in the Bible where the Lord had favor on them, but he still caused them to sin. It says the Lord caused some of these men to sin, and they were end up taken away from the earth, right? For example, Moses, right? Now, Moses died in all his health, right? But Moses didn't follow the Lord. He didn't follow the Lord at the end, right? He smote the rock, or he smote the rock instead of speaking to the rock. He didn't do what the Most High God said. David ended up, it said the Lord caused David to number the people, which was a sin at the time, right? and that was in David's old age. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, death is caused by sin, right? Now, you know, you know, we don't have to fear sin in the kingdom. You know why? Because it's going to be in our minds, right? And that's all this chapter was talking about. You know what I'm saying? Just giving y'all something to think about, like I said. But with that, you know what I'm saying? I want to say happy Sabbath, peaceful Sabbath. Hope this was edifying in some way. Hope it gave you something to think about. And you know how we say it, man. You know, if we're not gathering God's people, we're scattering God's people. There's no in between, right? We gotta do our part, and we got to seek the kingdom. And as it says in the last verse, right?
I had a
Be
precept
steadfast,
too.
be steadfast, unmovable, and always abounding in the work of the Lord. What's your precept?
Matthew 16 and 18, I think. You might can start at 17.
Matthew 16 and 17.
Uh, let me see. Not Matthew. I'm tripping. Mark. Mark 16. My bad. Con, you can start at 17.
Con, I'll read Mark 16 and 17. And it says, "And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, and they shall speak with new tongues."
Con, man. So, a lot of people read this, man, and this is these, some of the things they look for, right? But I want to encourage y'all to know, man, if you truly believe and you truly have that faith, man, and you're doing what you're supposed to do, 18 is supposed to come with this too, as being a disciple of Christ, right? Verse 18.
Verse 18, they shall take up serpents,
Just like
and if
Paul.
they
Just like Paul, they shall take up serpents. Keep reading.
and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover.
Come on, man. So this is talking about how not only that we have these terrestrial bodies, man, but by being obedient, by keeping the faith, right, we can receive the glory, like Brother Azrael mentioned, and that incorruption that Brother Isaiah was talking about here on this earth, right? We can witness these things, um, and it's our Lord and Savior that's letting us know that hey, look, man, the things that were meant to kill us, right? Even while we yet liveth on this earth, we'll find out that there's no enchantment against Jacob. There's no touching the anointed, right? Because at the end of the day, man, when we surrender to the Most High, right, we're at His will, and nothing, nobody, or anything can do to overthrow His mission that He has placed on our lives. And as long as we're, helping build His kingdom, right, the laborers are few, so He's not going to take us out for no reason. But you got to be doing what you're supposed to be doing in order for you to receive these things that the Christ is speaking of. But
Oh man, that's a mighty point as well. The thing about the gifts that are given to us from being believers and followers and having the spirit, man, those are glimpses of these glorified bodies we're gonna get, man. The things that it says that we should be able to do, right? Those are gifts. It says it's a gift, meaning, hey, you know, it was given to us, right? Meaning it's a glimpse of what we're going to have in the future, right? Uh, and those things only come if, like the brother Yeshaya said, you keep the commandments, because that's going to cancel out the sting of death in your life, and ultimately you'll be walking in glory on the earth right now, like we see a lot of our forefathers do, right? But just something to think about, man. Spiritual bodies, man. we're already in a pretty glorious body now, so we can't even imagine what the bodies to come will be like. But with that, man, I'm going to say Shalom. I hope you guys have a peaceful Sabbath day. If you don't celebrate on today, hope you have a peaceful rest of the day. Y'all stay safe, constantly endure with the hopeful elect. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.